Coming up on this edition of The Solo Show.
I'm a storyteller. I can tell a story from the remembering of the events and out of my mouth and through over my tongue and my teeth and through my lips. Now, bringing that story to pen, to paper, to computer, to typing, that's a different story. It becomes a different story when it came out of my fingers and that. Mm-hmm. And Tracy looked at me and she looked at that and she goes, "What is this?" And I was like, "Well, it's the story I'm trying to about." She goes, "Oh, you sound like an asshole."
This and a lot more coming up right now on The Solo Show. Brought to you, as always, by Victor Naraki Realtor, serving Disney and the greater Orlando area with celebratingflorida.com and disneyatyourdoorstep.com. The future is bright indeed. We're all of us dreaming of the better days ahead, and a part of your bright new future could be a move to where the magic lives in the greater Orlando area of Florida. One of the biggest decisions you'll make when considering a move is selecting a realtor who can successfully match you with the right home in the right location at the right price. Victor Naraki is the realtor who can help you make the move you've always wanted to. Whether you're a first-time homeowner or looking to move near Disney World, Victor is in your corner. If you are looking for an experienced real estate agent covering all of Central Florida, please visit disneyatyourdoorstep.com today and find out just why you should work with Victor. I encourage you to create a free, no-obligation account on his website. By doing so, you'll unlock the website's full potential and be able to enter specific criteria, save listings, and browse new properties sent to your email. Visit disneyatyourdoorstep.com today or visit his Facebook page, Victor Naraki Realtor. And don't forget to tell him The Solo Show sent you.
Let's put on the show.
Mon ami, I am always ready, as you say, to put on the show. My goodness, you're all staring at us. We better start the show rolling.
Broadcasting from the squishing room of a berry juice bar on the planet Kashyyyk. It's a thing, listeners. Here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the center of North America, on this little planet we call Earth, this is The Solo Show. On this adventure, get out your inner Yub Nub as Stan pulls out the guest host's chairs for Kevin and Tracy Thompson, who recently released a book talking about Kevin's more than 3-decade association with the Star Wars universe. A solo show for the ages is coming up right now. So please welcome your host. Hey Stan, why did Chewbacca get sent back down to play minor league baseball? Because he kept making Wookiee mistakes. Well, you knew I wasn't Gabriel Iglesias when you came in here. Here's Stan Solo.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Solo Show. I am Stan Solo as always. Joining me today are two superstars from Hollywood. Is it Hollywood or LA? I'm not sure. We'll start off ladies first. Tracy Thompson, welcome to the show, and how are you doing?
Hi, good. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
You are a fascinating person. I got to tell you that. Absolutely fascinating. And also joining me is Kevin Thompson. You may not know Kevin by name, but I can guarantee you've seen one of his movies. I was looking on the IMDb page. 75 movies and TV shows you've been in, Kevin. Do you realize that?
Yes. No, it's just a long career, and just, you're always saying, well, when's the next one? When you finish one, you're saying, when's the next one?
Exactly.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, time's gone by, and you're like, where did the last 30 years go?
I'm in the same boat, man. I'm coming up to 30 years of the same job. Yeah. And it's amazing how quickly time goes.
Yes, it is.
Crazy. So Kevin was an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, as well as the Caravan of Courage and Battle for Endor, correct?
Yes.
So
I was even in the parade with George Lucas when he was Grand Marshal of the Rose Parade.
Oh, you were in the car with him?
No, I was on the Endor.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was amazing. They had all the 501st troopers marching in that one.
He flew them in from all over the world.
Yeah. There was I'm from Canada, and there were some Canadians even went. I didn't know any of them, but yeah, they had all the 501st troopers. That was an amazing parade. So Kevin and Tracy, Kevin has had an amazing life, and I hear you're telling these stories all the time. I'm going to tell a story about how we met. Actually, I'll tell that now. I met Kevin in Orlando at Star Wars Celebration. We were staying in the kind of a gated hotel area type thing. And there was myself and three of my buddies, and we were just standing on the corner of the street, and I had my phone out, and I was ordering an Uber to come pick us up. And his van pulls up, and the driver says, "Are you guys going to Celebration?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Are you ordering an Uber?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Cancel the Uber, hop in, we'll give you a ride." I'm like, "Okay." And my friends are like, "Stan, people go into vans, you never see them again. What are you, are you crazy?" So I'm like, "It'll be fine, guys." So we get in, and we're in this van, and the driver says, "You guys been to Celebration all weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm thinking this was the last day already. And he says, "Have you met any celebrities yet?" And I said, "Well, we've seen them on stage or whatnot." He goes, "Well, you're meeting one right now." He says, "You know who this guy is?" And Kevin's in the passenger seat, and he turns around, looks at us, and kind of waves, and goes, "Hi, how's it going?" And he goes, "You know what he is?" Well, all four of us are thinking Ewok, but none of us want to say it. Like,
short for a stormtrooper, aren't you?
Yeah, he's a little bit short for a stormtrooper, and I didn't think you were a Jawa, so I'm thinking. Then you go, and then the driver, and he was actually from the 501st, the driver, and he said no, he was an Ewok, and I was like, "Oh, that's great." And when we got out, I actually got to talk to Kevin for quite a while, and I bought an autograph and a little arrowhead. Yeah, you were selling arrowheads from a Battle of Endor character. And we had a great, and you had great stories. And I said to you, if I ever start a podcast, would you be willing to come on? And you said, "Sure, I love telling my stories." So that's how we met. It was kind of a happen chance.
That's cool.
Good.
That's really cool.
Okay, so let's talk about this book. So how did this book come to be?
Well, my journey to Endor was I've been telling these stories for 40 years. People would say, "Hey, you should do a book." The thing is when I'm a storyteller, I can tell a story from the remembering of the events and out of my mouth and through over my tongue and my teeth and through my lips. Now, bringing that story to pen, to paper, to computer, to typing, that's a different story. It becomes a different story when it came out of my fingers and that. Mm-hmm. And Tracy looked at me and she looked at that and she goes, "What is this?" And I was like, "Well, it's the story I'm trying about." She goes, "Wow, you sound like an asshole."
Move over, kid.
I had to tone him down. I had to bring out the Kevin that I know, coming from 22-year-old stuntman, wrestler,
gymnast,
basketball player, all that started out ego.
Yeah.
And so I've heard his stories over the house, little ideas. So finally I sat down at the computer and he would just keep talking and I would just keep typing. It was just, the more he talked, the more he put it all together.
Because we met right after the movie ended. Tracy.
That's right.
So that's how long
you mentioned that in the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she's heard these stories. Come on, I wooed her with these, to get her to go out with us.
Our first dates, yeah.
And so she's heard these stories and she was able to, but she knew how scared, just being more like, Toby joins the circus type of stories. So I was doing stuff that I was just learning that day. Mm-hmm. And many of the things, being away from home for really, it was just, I was still very wet behind the ears getting this job, and in circumstances I became the top stuntman on the top movie for that time.
Yeah.
And
so
really,
I guess I should have mentioned that like you were a stuntman, you weren't really an actor so much. You did acting as well, almost like pantomime if you're in an Ewok costume, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Sorry, Tracy, what were you going to say?
Really, we started out writing this, and once we got it together, and the fans kept asking about his stories, kind of to leave a legacy for the fans and to get your story out there about the Ewoks.
Right, and the Ewoks have always they haven't gotten a lot of love from a lot of the side. I think a lot of fans were kind of mad that it's these little fur balls are the ones that take out the Empire. And they don't realize how tough it was. Many times they don't even realize, they thought everybody was British. And it's like, no, there's American Ewoks and there's British Ewoks.
Yeah.
And they didn't work together except for the four that came over from the States. Kenny, Mike, Jack, and Warwick are the ones that came over to work in the States.
Yeah. You mentioned that, so you went to London to work in Ill Street Studios.
Yes.
And so how many of you? I think it was like 4 or 5 of you that went.
It was 4 of us in the beginning that went over there, and then basically just to get to design the outfit so that stunts could be done. So we could be, jumping out of trees, and because you're in a Michelin mummy suit. We look like the Michelin mummy, and you can barely walk. And like Tracy, it's very visual of how Tracy was writing of, some of these little people who were Ewoks had the inseam of a raccoon.
I remember that was my favorite line in the whole book, I think.
And there's ferns that are 10 feet high that will run around we can't see, and you got dirt and twigs in your outfit, and you need to go to the bathroom, and that's a mile away. There are all sorts of logistic problems.
Yeah, no kidding.
We got it done. Nobody got hurt.
Well, I have to say, like, I'm not much of a reader. Like, I very rare do I sit down and read a book. But I saw this book came out just this past week, and I'm like, I'll buy it. So I bought the book.
Thank you.
And I read it in one sitting. Like, it is a fun read. It is something that any Star Wars fan who is really interested, or even if you're not really interested, but if you are interested in how does one apply for a role in Star Wars, kind of the behind the scenes stuff in Star Wars, this is a book to get, because it's very well written. It's a nice read, and the whole thing, the entire time I was interested. There was no time this is getting dull. I just chapter after chapter I read through the whole book.
Good.
Yeah, very, very happy with the book. Tracy, you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you very much.
One of the stories you talk about in the book is that you were part of the, I guess it was originally baseball, then it switched to basketball, the Hollywood Shorties. I found that part fascinating in the book as well, because you were with it for 30 years.
Yeah.
What is the Hollywood Shorties?
The Hollywood Shorties was the smallest professional basketball and baseball team. We called it professional. We basically it was beer money. You get $5, $10. You charge something so that it's people. If we didn't, it was fundraising for all sorts of different, either high schools or local city, Chamber of Commerce. We played with the faculty against like high school teams, or like local celebrities if it was like a Chamber of Commerce game. But then sometimes there would be situations where a little person needed money for medical services or adoptions or whatever, just unforeseen circumstances. They were down and out. And we would have a game, and all the money would go towards that. And,
that's nice.
We would help them out on those type of things, many different occasions. But it was just fun. It was kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters, yet smaller.
Yeah.
We shot at a 10-foot basket. Everything regular height. The only rule change was the ball must bound before the other team can get it. So the rebounding, you can't just rebound and shove it right back in. There's no defense. But once the ball bounced, then it was much more even. And we had Tony Cox, who was in the movie. He does the speeder bike chase, and he's in the book. And I tell everybody how he was our 3-point threat. He could shoot from half court consistent, and it was just an amazing shot. He shot underhanded. Basically, he's so short, 3.5 feet tall, and the ball would scrape the ground when he would shoot. And it was just really an amazing thing for him shooting. And then I was more of the comedy guy. I was kind of like a Meadowlark Lemon type of character. I wrote a lot of the acts and things, and then I somehow twisted Tracy's arm, and she got in on the act, and it was the funniest act.
Right. So I want you to tell the shoe gag, and I want Tracy to tell the wife gag. For people that aren't quite following. So you guys would play against like high school teachers,
right?
Well, for the most part, and it grew quite big. Where you were doing halftime shows at the Lakers and all sorts of different halftime shows.
All sorts of. We had
the Laker cheerleaders, I should say, not against the Lakers.
Right. The Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, the Warriors. I think we did the Nuggets. The Seattle Supersonics when they were there. Now they're the Oklahoma City Thunder, but when they were Seattle, we did that. And the shoe gag is I get knocked out from
you're cold.
One of the other players knocks me, and so I'm out. And we do it twice. The first time, one of the players takes off his shoe and puts it on my nose and wakes me up. And
that gets you up real quick.
It gets me up really quick because it's a pretty stinky. And the second time he does it, when you do the same act twice, it never works. Anyway, it was funny. Well, it doesn't work. The shoe doesn't work. I'm still knocked out. I'm not moving. What do we do? What do we do? One of the guys grabs a girl from the audience. She comes over and does the whole Prince Charming thing. She gives me a kiss. I wake up. I get all excited. I go off with the girl. The whole team comes down, and they want to kiss too. They say, "Look,
they're
I'm
all
knocked
out
too."
They're all knocked out.
They all lay on kiss too. I'm gonna kiss. So I take the girl. We leave the arena, and then I come back in. She walks back in all huffed with her arms crossed like something, and I come back out and I'm wearing goggles and like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar goggles, and they're all askew, and it's like, what happened? I said, well, I just went for a kiss and kablam, she hit me. You did? I said, yeah. They go, do you know your wife's here? And it's like, Tracy would.
And this is where Tracy comes
out.
And the whole crowd would be,
I got the crowd. They're marching out and grabs me by the ear and throws me into the wall. And then I do this flip and roll and stuff. Yeah. The crowd goes crazy. They give Tracy a standing ovation.
And that all happened by accident at a game. It just kind of developed and showed.
Yeah, they couldn't get me off, and one of the guys yells at Tracy and says, Trace, go get your husband. Yeah. So she marches out there, and we just went with it. I just kind of whispered to her, grab my ear and throw me in the wall.
I'm like, okay.
And you being a stuntman was able to do quite a dramatic flip when you bounce off.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So you mentioned the documentary. Yeah, so that's a documentary called Hollywood Shorties. So people, it's something you can check out. It's available on Apple Pay. You can rent it. I think it's $6 or something like that in Canada. It's probably cheaper in the US.
The fun thing about throughout the States and everything, a lot of times it was the first time a person like them, or even average sized parents who have a child. So with the Hollywood Shorties traveling around, it gave them exposure to seeing a little person who is agile and able to play. And so that was always in the end, to come across another little person who's never seen a person like themselves, which happens quite often.
Because it's same ethnicity is a lot of times your ethnicity. With the little person, the way we're born into a family, many times there's not another little person for 50, 100 miles around.
So that was really neat to put people together and meet parents for the first time who were wondering. So that was
right. And then we would have them sit down on the bench and be part of the team a lot of times, and they'd be very excited. And then that predates what maybe at times the Paralympic Games. There's the Dwarf Athletic Association, which now is where the Hollywood Shorties basically were the pioneers of that, and now different little people will participate against and compete against each other in all sorts of different, whether it be track and field, volleyball, soccer, basketball, and all sorts of other different sports.
That's so cool.
That happened back in the late 80s.
I think it was 85, 86 was kind of the inaugural, and then the second year. Do you think there's no more Hollywood Shorties as far as I know? No. Do you think something like that would work today?
It could, but the insurance is what killed us. The insurance companies, the high schools wanted us to have $1 million insurance policy.
And they're already there.
Yeah, they're strapped. We're strapped. We're not making any money. We can't afford insurance policy, accidental, whatever insurance policy. And so we're not making that much money. It's more of just having fun, but everybody has to cover the bases.
Yeah. So, it's a different world we live in today. That's for sure.
Yes. How many accident attorney commercials do you see on the TV?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's never a little person represented in any commercials, which is very frustrating.
Yes. No, there is no commercial. That's what we said. There is not a little person who has been on a commercial. Ask me when the last time it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Like whether it's McDonald's or selling toothpaste or a drink company, it never happens. And that needs to change.
We're not even elves anymore. We're not even leprechauns. So because of the PC, they're thinking, the little people don't want to be thought of as fantasy characters. So we'll use average size actors to be those fantasy characters. And it's like, wait a minute, you missed the whole argument. The argument was we wanted to be bankers and moms and dads and people just buying a product, which we do, and we don't get that part.
Yeah. I think the
All
last
they
one I can
heard was,
think of
"We
is
don't want to be
in
fantasy characters."
Elf. I think it was it Peter Dinklage that played the
Yes.
businessman.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the last one I could think of where it's a normal position type of thing, as opposed to being in a costume or
Right.
yeah. I don't want to go too much into how you got the job, because if you want to find that out, read the book. Buy the book, read the book, and you'll find out how he got hired by Lucasfilm.
That's an
But you
interesting
want to
read.
talk about? Sorry.
I said that's an interesting read.
It is. Yeah. It's very. But I do want to talk about. Though you were more than one Ewok. You weren't just. You were like, because you were the stunt Ewok. So if there's an Ewok in a tree, that's you.
At
Am I right?
one point in the movie, when I've done watch-alongs with different people, different podcasts, there's a bit where there's 5 different scenes back to back, and it's me. So it's me, different scene. I take out all 3 ATST. I can't be it. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm Chuck Norris. I don't know. I would change my head to play other character. I played over 10 different Ewoks. They haven't named all of them.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I blow the horn to start the battle. And then right after I blow the horn to start the battle, I'm battling. So I'm up in a tree, but now I'm down on the ground. Now I'm over here shooting an arrow. Now I'm throwing an axe. Now I'm swinging on the rope vine. It's just, they had to change my head around. My signature Ewok is the one with the white slash over the eye, and that's Chubray.
And if you get the book, you have these amazing pictures at the end, and there's a picture of Chubray with you, or a Chubray with you in costume. In the book, back of the book, there's several pictures. You have you talk about the scroll that all the Ewoks got the final day of shooting. And so you have a picture of that in there, which is awesome to see. You have a call sheet, which is super interesting. I zoomed right in on that and read every line of the call sheet about how that works. And you guys were staying at a hotel in Northern California.
Motel.
And I guess a motel. Yeah. And a bus would take you every day who needed to go to the shooting for the shots. Now you were part of the Hollywood Shorties, and you mentioned one day you came back and they were installing a basketball hoop.
Oh yeah.
Did you freak anybody out on how good you were at basketball?
I think all the little people, see, we all knew each other. A lot of people don't realize that. All the little people had worked together, and we all lived in, a lot of us, 90% of us lived in LA. So we knew of each other. And
they knew you played basketball, but like
right.
the hotel,
and they knew of the Hollywood Shorties.
Other guests?
We had some townspeople who would stop by and watch it. But we had taken over most of the hotel or the motel. And so there's a few guests who would come in and go, then watch us if they saw us, because we're working most of the time. This is right before dusk and on weekends that we would shoot the basketball. Yeah. But I think there was a couple of locals that came by and challenged us 1-on-1, and we took them out, or 2-on-2, and they would leave with their tails between their legs because they didn't realize how good we were. We're just awesome. A little guy with a basketball. Like, no, you don't understand.
Did you play?
No, the crew didn't come up on West. They did. The crew didn't come up there. We maybe toured around. Maybe somebody had a car, and we toured off and went off. Like to go find Butch and his yodeling.
Sorry, I missed that.
That was that. But Butch and his yodeling. We had no idea.
Oh yeah,
the yodeling.
Oh okay.
that chapter.
Where did the crew stay?
All over the place. When you go up into that area, it's like any small town. Brookings had 6,000 people in it. I think Crescent City was the big town. It probably had 15,000, if that. And so you have people staying at, whether it's a 5-room motel, or the cast and the bigwigs got to stay ship to shore, which is that boat. It looks like it's closed down now. Okay. The boat is still there.
Yes. Yeah. I think you have a picture of that in the in the book.
In its day, 40 years ago, that was Hopping Hotel.
Now, I remember when we were waiting in line to get into Celebration, you were telling me some of the stories, and you were talking about, I think it was on Caravan of Courage, the riding the horse. Is a scene where Cinda, the horse takes off, and she's inside the horse, and you hop on a horse and take off. And you said that seeing through the costume was bad enough because the way the eyes would fog up and whatnot. then when you would get on a horse and sitting, your shoulders would rise up and it would force the head to go up even more.
The eyes are around my forehead.
Yeah, yeah. So you were completely
So I'm trying to look out the
blind.
nose. It's basically I'm blind driving.
I can't imagine that.
On a pony, not a horse. A horse
Right.
is much nicer than a pony. A pony is ornery. A pony likes to try and knock you off.
So
I
you're
was
going.
trying to, I learned horseback. I had, ridden a horse, growing up a little, but I learned how to really ride that horse so I learned how to ride a horse. Now start riding a horse in the Ewok outfit, which, like you said, you can't see anyway.
Yeah.
And now, it's not a horse, it's a pony, which is the ornery. And your eyes are up above your head, and there's trees around. You've got to ride full blast after a runaway horse with a big house on it with 2 kids in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Like I can't imagine them doing that these days. Like, does that still happen, or is that back in those days we did stuff like that?
I don't know. Maybe it's see what you can get away with. As long as nobody gets hurt. Nobody got hurt, so
it was how many takes did that take?
Oh, come on, it's me. It's one.
Well, one take Thompson. That's what they called you.
There's that ego showing up.
Yeah. Oh, we did it a few.
Okay. Oh, that's crazy. You mentioned watching Return of the Jedi for the first time in the book, and that was interesting as well. But I'm thinking to myself, the Ewoks don't appear until later in the movie.
When it gets good.
When it gets good, right. By the way, I'm a huge Ewok fan. I love Caravan of Courage and Battle of Endor. I remember them very fondly as a child. Were you thinking my scenes are cut out at any point when you were watching the movie for the first time?
No, I kind of knew the idea. I didn't know what, you never know what's going to be left in a movie. You hope that yours is there, but you really don't. And sometimes things change completely once they get back to the editing room. They say, well, if we could do this or that. That's where, when I was talking with on the flight back with Bobby, Bobby goes, hey, we may not even get used.
Mm-hmm.
We have no contract. We don't know if we're used in this. They might change their mind and decide to shoot this in Africa. Who knows?
Yeah.
We don't. Things change, and he had been around long enough to know that. That's why it's like I've got to take another job. They're not offering a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And so you always hope to, until when I did watch it, and I'm all over the. It was very. I was like, oh, okay, they did keep my.
That's me. Yes,
that's me. Wait a minute, that's me.
The scene where Chewbacca's swinging and lands on top of the AT-AT, is that you?
Yes.
Because it's Wicket, Chewbacca, and another Ewok.
No, Wicket's not up there.
Wicket's not up there. I thought Wicket ends up inside the ATST.
No, what is fun when Chewbacca and the 2 Ewoks come running in and spot the ATST that they're going to hijack.
Mm-hmm.
Is myself and another stunt guy. We then swing onto the ATST. We did have some scenes that got cut on top of the AT. All you see is Chewbacca throw the guys out.
Yeah.
Reach down and throw the guys out. But there was some other things that we did before that too. I helped. And then
cool.
everybody jumps down into the ATST.
Mm-hmm.
And that's done at ILM in San Francisco, Rafael. And it's 2 different Ewoks, and in fact 2 different heads.
Okay.
Nobody knows that. Watched this movie.
They do.
Yeah. You've watched this movie probably 100 times, and you don't even know that.
Okay, because the
the
Ewok that's inside the ATST has a very, very similar look to Wicket.
He's got two cheeks. He's Wicket's brother in Ewok Adventures, Tony Cox.
Oh,
okay. He's got the 2 white cheeks. That's Whittle.
Yeah.
That's Whittley. But Whittle did not run what I ran with Chewbacca swung onto the ATST.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Whittle appears out of nowhere, which is me.
Okay.
Watch it tonight, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You're like, how did I not get that?
Because the scene right after that, where they show them inside the ATST, there's a bunch of Ewoks hopping on top of a log, and Wicket is with them. Right. And I thought, how is Wicket in the ATST and on that log at the same time? I just got mixed up. So that's good to know, though, because I thought, hey, I found him.
Now everybody knows.
Yeah, now everybody knows.
I have a buddy known as the Ewok guy. He's a 501ster, and he's known as the Ewok guy.
Uh-huh.
I told him that scene. He goes, no, I would know. And he comes back and goes, I had no idea. He goes, I've watched this movie 500 times and I never caught that.
I did catch something one time. There's the scene where the Ewoks try to trip the AT-AT or the ATST.
Yes.
And they kind of fall down and there's the rope pulling them.
Right.
And the only reason why I caught this is my wife or someone was talking to me and I paused the movie right where it's the ATST and there's a tree and then there's the Ewoks getting dragged and the rope doesn't line up between the Ewoks getting dragged and the ATST. If you
that's
pause
not
it,
that's not my fault.
That's not your fault. No,
that's not my fault.
No, that's not your fault. But yeah, whoever did the special effects on that,
I remember
you don't
that.
notice it at full speed, but you have to pause it.
In the book. That whole scene in the book of that was a tough scene.
The getting dragged behind.
Oh yeah, through the muck and the mud. Just, every 4 seconds because the way the legs go every 4 seconds.
Oh, right. Yeah. So they pulled you, paused. Okay.
Jump up, get up, pull them again. Yeah. It's one of my favorite chapters, the way that Tracy caught what was happening during that time.
Yeah.
And it shows what a stuntman cannot really say no. He has to say yeah.
I believe that was you on the speeder bike.
The very end. I do this. That's Tony Cox who does all the flying.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Cox does a lot of that, and then I'm the guy that you see the rope swing off.
Oh, okay.
At the very end.
Yeah.
It's
before the.
It's Kenny Baker that gets on it, and then Tony Cox does all the stunt work, and then I fly off. So it's actually 3 guys.
That is crazy when you think about it. Like what's involved in doing that one scene like that. That is awesome. I wanted to just throw out some names here. The first one is you worked with Carrie Fisher before Star Wars in Under the Rainbow, and what were your thoughts of her?
I was looking at her going, wow, yeah, it's Princess Leia. It's, you still had that look in your head for not realizing it's Debbie Reynolds' daughter. I didn't think of that. But it was still, she was a hard worker, and she was amazing that she can, I was still going to drama school. So I saw her script and all her notes on the sides. I was like, oh, that's what our teacher told. She had all the different notes of her feelings and her reaction, motivations for each line, and she had written it out.
Very interesting.
And on Return of the Jedi, she did that whole scene with Luke, with Mark Hamill finding out that their brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
That's one take. There's never going line.
Oh wow!
It was like, wow, that's a 5-minute scene. So
and that was filmed in England, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that was one of the scenes I got to see.
Yeah, super cool. Harrison Ford, you worked with him on Blade Runner. You were in Blade Runner for people that don't know. Did he remember you?
Home again, jiggity jig.
Sorry, what's that? That was your line?
Home again, jiggity jig. That's my very first line ever.
That's awesome. So did Harrison Ford? Did he talk to you, or did you get to know him at all?
He's there's a lot of cerebral in that character, so you didn't really. It wasn't like, hey, how's the weather?
Yeah.
It's more of like a nod to each other, just a, hey, how are you? Because he and Ridley were in more of discussions of the character. He, Ridley, Rutger, and the Pris, Daryl Hannah.
Oh yeah.
And so those were more speaking of what was going on, and William Sanderson were more of the guys talking. And you know what I think? No, I'll keep it there.
Yeah. He seems to me like he'd be very serious on the set, Harrison, or does he joke around?
It's everybody that has ever worked with Harrison, crew, love it that he goes, dudes, you don't need to look after me. Give me a walkie-talkie. Give me 5 minutes for you ready, and I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need somebody babysitting me. Let me do what I do. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be on. And everybody that's ever worked with him thought that he is the most easygoing guy to do.
Nice.
We've worked with some different people though that have not him, but that are not.
Okay. You did a lot of stuff with Ridley Scott. Well, how was he to work with?
Ridley, for me, like I say in the book, I didn't realize that I was meeting him. Let people read the book of how.
That's
how
a very good story. Yeah, that's a good story in the book. Yeah,
of how we meet,
mm-hmm.
and I was just very lucky that he enjoyed me on set, and he kept writing different parts for me. You know, at the time, you don't know if this is going to become a classic. It's just a day working. Yeehaw, I'm working today. That's the difference between show business and any other job. Hey, have you been working? No, I haven't been working. I get to go to work today. I'm going to work. Yeehaw.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's an exciting thing because you're going to get paid. Going to work. And so they kept calling me back.
From the parts that you saw while they were filming with the Ewoks. Now, Star Wars, of course, was a massive hit, 77. Empire Strikes Back tops it in 1980. Now we're working on Return of the Jedi. At any point, did you think to yourself, what has this franchise come to? Or did you think this is awesome, what was happening? This is going to be another huge hit for Lucasfilm? Did you have any feelings one way or another?
Well, because
you were a Star Wars fan going into it. Yeah.
As a fan of the Star Wars, I figured that it would make $100 million. You never know with things. Sometimes all of a sudden the fans turn on it.
Well, at the time, the sequel was never better than the original. I mean, Star Wars changed that. So
right.
So
I was excited.
So as a fan, you thought this was going to be brilliant. Now, how about as an actor, seeing what the sets looked like and being there?
I thought it was going to be brilliant as well. There was nothing not to make the stinker. How about you? You were, Tracy, you were not really a fan, or were you?
No, not like you. I mean, I liked Star Wars.
Right.
Before.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at it as just another sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is after you, it was kind of quiet.
Very much so.
So, you just go on, do other jobs. But then the resurgence, the fans, I don't know when it started, but it seems like it came full force. The whole Star Wars Comic-Con celebration. It's like
it really got some legs 10 years later.
It really did, because it was quiet after.
Yeah.
It seemed.
The dark times, as we fans call it.
Right, exactly.
The dark times, when there was no comic books coming out, there was no novels coming out. It was about 10 years where nothing happened. Yeah, and I can remember being in Toys R Us, getting some toys for my daughters, and the Star Wars Bend-Ems were on the shelf. That was like the first Star Wars thing I've seen on the shelf in like 10 years. And they were like just rubber toys that were bendable, and I think it was like a 3-pack or something. And I thought, Star Wars stuff is still selling? And I'm like, so I bought those. And it just seemed like it just ballooned after that, and it came back with a vengeance.
Yeah, because I don't think you ever expected
it
to come back in such exuberance. It's really back lives.
It's something
really
that
cool
you would put up on the shelf, that it's a shiny little thing that you had, and now all of a sudden you come, it's that old toy that brings you back and you want to keep playing with, and people ask you to bring it down and tell stories about it.
Yeah. And come on podcasts.
Right. Come on podcasts. Exactly. A 40-year-old movie. I mean, I was getting ready 40 years ago, getting ready to go. I'd been to London and came back. Now was the waiting time between London and going to Northern California, and really not thinking that, yes, maybe I'll be going, but maybe I'm not going.
And the communication back then was so different. It was the actual landline phone
and snail mail.
Yeah, no kidding. The working title Blue Harvest, which every fan is familiar with. By the time you were filming the Ewok scenes, was that already? I think everybody knew by then that it was no longer, because I remember being before Return of the Jedi was announced, I already knew that they were working on the film. Like it leaked out to Canada. And like you said, there was no internet back then. It was through magazines or something like that. You guys knew it was Star Wars. Well, you knew because you saw that.
Trying to say that it was Blue Harvest was a standalone, and it wasn't the third one of the trilogy.
Oh, okay.
It's like I'm over there at the village and I see stormtrooper helmets and Darth Vader's. Thinking, I just, you got Luke there, you got Han, you got Carrie. I don't think it's a standalone movie. Say what you want, but it's one of those things. I think I knew what it was. I couldn't say it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No. Just going back, the thoughts. Real quick. George Lucas and Warwick Davis. You said George
was. I mean, he's got to be cerebral because he's thinking so much of what's going on, but he's just a very quiet, calm individual. I never really saw him get overly excited. He's just he's in complete control. and sits with the crew at lunch. You know,
Oh, nice.
So yeah, drives himself to the set, and it's just very. And Ewok Adventure, why I think a lot of people didn't like about Ewok Adventure, they were expecting Empire Strikes Back type of action Jedi, and he made it for his daughter Amanda, who was 4 or 5 years old at the time. And when you're George Lucas and you're a filmmaker, what do you do for your daughter? You make her a movie. And he made her a movie, and the fans went, "What is this?" Where's the where's the basically the blood and the guts, of a story. They wanted a little bit more of that. I would have liked to have made the Ewoks, a little tougher, like, we are carnivores and, murder bears, I like to call it.
Well, he took on the Empire and held their own.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then I guess Warwick Davis is kind of the opposite of George, where he's always excited and always happy. And
he was just
bright-eyed.
He was just a kid in a candy stand. I think he and Mark Hamill had the same exuberance and passion and excitement for the movie, because what I've heard from Mark Hamill is after his audition, he said, "Hey, can I just, if I don't get this part, because I'd love to watch you guys make this. This is really neat. I think it's really going to be something else." And usually you don't say that. You're usually like, well, you're just a little bit too, but he was exactly what George wanted with. And I think Warwick was the same way. He was just very excitable, very inquisitive, very knowledgeable, as you can tell. He was just eloquent in speaking, and he's only 12. And the whole cast fell in love with him. And so he was just a he's been in every Star Wars since. Yeah. So obviously somebody liked him. He's doing something right.
He's a fan favorite for sure. That's
he is. Sure. Yeah. He's a good guy.
So after I read this book, I'm thinking to myself, this book is awesome. Go ahead.
In fact, Tracy and Warwick's wife work both together. Tracy works with the LPA here in the United States. Little People of America, which is the organization for little people, social and they work with little people to give them resources, to sounding board for parents, other little people, a community. And Sammy and Warwick work for the LP UK. Okay. And so Tracy helping little people in the UK. So Tracy and Sammy have a connection that way, because they both are very involved with.
Very cool. Yeah. That's a great organization for sure too. So I was saying, so from reading this book, I'm thinking like the book is great, but what I really want to see is a Netflix series or a special on your life. And I think that would be awesome to see that, and like have different people play you, and they could start off like when you first find out that you're a little person, because when you were first born and your parents didn't realize this, I'm assuming.
Not really.
Yeah. And to go from that to the Hollywood shorties, to the different movies, and just the excitement of getting a line where, like a movie where you get a line, to trying out to get into Star Wars. This is a Netflix special if I've ever heard of one, for sure.
Thank you very much.
It's an absolutely fascinating life you had. I think that's something.
I don't even talk about my baseball and my Little League and my Pop Warner football.
Yeah, you do talk about your big family.
Yeah, big family. And
yeah, you're like six family of 6, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one of 5, so just about.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, when Tracy came over for Sunday dinner, she was like, she was a little overwhelmed.
I had just a sister coming to the big Sunday dinner, and it was quite an ordeal.
For sure.
You want that? I don't know. No, just take it. You won't see it again.
Yeah, you won't see it. Yeah, grab it while you can, because it's only going to come around once.
Yeah.
When you have a big family. So other than the Netflix special that I need you to work on, what's coming up for you? What do you have? What do you have in the back burner? Anything going on? I know I messaged you a while back and you were on a set and you couldn't talk. Is that? I didn't want to ask you then.
Could be. There could be something. Another non-disclosure that might be out spring.
Okay. So soon. All right. So something to look forward to that should be coming out soon. Right on. And how about you, Tracy?
And then we're trying to just get this book going. Get it out there we're trying to do a book tour.
So
I imagine you'd be going to cons and
whatnot. We're going to cons, and we're in Celebration in May, and we're opening for Eureka.
The Eureka Zoo. They have a skyway at the Skywalk. I think it's the Redwood Zoo in Eureka, California. and it looks like the Ewok village.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The redwoods.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have some friends that live in California. I'll have to send them there to take some pictures for me or something.
Yeah.
So we'd be happy to come up to Canada and do.
Well, they do.
What town are you in, Stan?
I'm in Winnipeg, just north of North Dakota. And
All
we
right.
do have a comic convention every Halloween. It's Halloween weekend.
Oh.
The last week of October is when they have the convention here. You know what? I'm gonna message the people and put your name out there. They might because we do
Sounds
get
good.
celebrities from all over the place, and they're always asking if there's anyone that you want to see. So I'll let them know
It
who I
is.
want to see. So
Yeah.
Request us wherever it is.
Yeah.
We'll be
Yeah,
happy
for sure.
to come.
I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but the book is available on Amazon in Kinder softcover and hardcover.
Yes.
So check out Amazon.com. And the name of the book is My to Endor.
My Journey to Endor.
Yeah. So I'll put the links in the show notes where you can get the book as well. If you just want to go to Amazon and search My Journey to Endor, it's the first thing that pops up. Yeah, I found that out, really.
And in about a month, I'll probably be doing a audio version, an audio book.
Oh, awesome. I'll get that too. Yeah, it's awesome. That's right on. Well, I want to thank you two for coming on. Any final thoughts?
No.
Tracy, you look like you have a final thought.
No, it's a thank you for having us.
I'm so happy we were able to arrange this and come on anytime. I really appreciate you two spending the time to coming out. Ken, take it away.
If you have a brilliant idea for a future edition of The Solo Show and would like to take your turn in the guest host's chair, then drop us an email at thesoloshow01@gmail.com. Tell us your idea for the show, and we'll contact you about a date and a time for you to join us. If you would just like to keep the conversation going or have a comment about a previous show, then visit us on Facebook at The Solo Show. All logos, sounds, and songs that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are owned solely by the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of The Solo Show podcast. We hope you'll join us for the next adventure on The Solo Show. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.